All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we recap Week 13 in the NFL and talk a little bit about how the Niners stand after the games wrapped up in Week 13 with just a Monday Nighter to go. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, 3 locations now, Emeryville, Corte Madera, and 1 on the way in Petaluma. That's right. And we will be in Corte Madera at Pig and a Pickle next Sunday, December the 7th for the Krug Show meet and greet. Stop by, say hello. There'll be some Krug Show merchandise you can get. And, of course, we're going to be giving away the Ricky Pearsall autographed mini helmet as well next Sunday in Corte Madera at the Krug Show meet and greet at Pig and a Pickle. So stop by, say hello. All right, let's get into the week that was in the NFL. Okay, it started on Thursday with 3 games on Thanksgiving, and we saw the Packers upset the Lions in Detroit 31-24. Packers with a 28 points in the second and third quarters combined, 14 in the second, 14 in the third, and Jordan Love matched his career high with 4 touchdown passes. And the Lions lose at home to the Green Bay Packers in a game that the Lions desperately wanted to win for playoffs. They may wind up on the outside looking in. Right now, they are on the outside looking in. Jameson Williams had 7 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown, but the Lions lose. They fall to 4-2 at home, and Green Bay gets the win. So that was the first surprise on Thanksgiving. The second surprise was the Cowboys beat the Chiefs 31-28 as, somehow the Cowboys overcome the fourth quarter magic of Patrick Mahomes. Dak Prescott threw for over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns, and CeeDee Lamb at 112 yards and a touchdown. And the Cowboys, maybe the hottest team in football right now. They go to 6-5-1 on the year and drop the Chiefs to 6-6, and the Chiefs may miss the playoffs. As it stands right now, they're out. So that's going to be something dramatic. And interestingly enough, the Cowboys are going to be a lot about 2026, I think, because they're finishing really fast with Quinnen Williams and a revamped defense. But it's going to be too little too late for Dallas, I believe. They're 6-5-1. The playoffs are still a possibility for the Cowboys, but I think they're probably going to be on the outside looking in. But they get a big win over the Chiefs, and they looked impressive doing so. And then the Bengals went to Baltimore, and they beat the Ravens 32-14. Lamar Jackson played horribly. Joe Burrow makes his return, and it was a triumphant return. Man, they didn't ease him back in either. Zach Taylor, 24 of 46 for Burrow. He had 46 pass attempts, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase is like, hey, man, my guy's back. Jamar had 7 catches for 110 yards, and the Bengals win on the road. The Bengals most likely are also not going to the playoffs at 4-8, but the Ravens might not be going either. How about that? Wouldn't that be something if Lamar and Mahomes, the Ravens and the Chiefs both sit out the playoffs? It could happen. And then Friday, we got another shocker as the Bears beat the Eagles in Philly 24-15. Ben Johnson has the Bears playing incredibly well. They've won 5 straight and 9 of 10. And Ben Johnson tore off his shirt inside the locker room, flexed like a pro wrestler. The Bears danced, and man, they're feeling good. Kyle Monangi, the rookie from Rutgers, ran for 130 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift ran for 125 yards and a touchdown. Chicago finished with 281 yards on the ground. And the Eagles suddenly are absolutely reeling. This is the Eagles, had the NFC East seemingly wrapped up 2 weeks ago. But then they've lost consecutively now. And they're not looking like the Super Bowl contender that they were before. So they had a 21-0 lead at Dallas on Sunday and fell and lost that game 24-21. And their offense didn't show any signs of snapping out of it in this game. The Philly fans booed them off the field. There's been sports radio calls for the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, to be fired. Nick Sirianni said he might be fired. It's not going to be this week. He's going to stick with Patullo. I mean, unbelievably, the Eagles are just kind of the bottom is falling out. And the fans have been chanting, fire Kevin, for Patullo. And I'll say this, they got a big problem with Hurts because he threw for 230 yards and a pair of touchdowns, but he really didn't drive the ball down the field and hasn't, he doesn't throw a lot of picks. And people are like, Hurts really doesn't throw a lot of picks. He didn't throw a lot of picks because it doesn't challenge down the field very much. So Eagles ran just 17 plays and had just 2 first downs with 83 total yards in the first half. The Bears ran for 142 yards alone in that half. Jake Elliott also missed an extra point. And the Super Bowl champs are 8-4, but man, they are looking very flawed at this point. And the things seem to be coming apart. A.J. Brown had a huge day in the loss. 10 catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. There are a lot of people wondering about if he was going to, start producing. Well, he is producing, but the Eagles suddenly can't stop anybody on the ground, and that's going to be a problem. Bears look good and roll to 9-3, and the Eagles look bad, even though they're still 8-4 and very much alive for the Super Bowl out of the NFC. All right, so those were the games coming into Sunday. Then we had the Sunday slate today. And let's get right into it. Jaguars beat the Titans 25-3. The Titans are bad. They're 1-11. They're 0-7 at home. The 49ers get them coming out of the bye week. They're not a good football team. Cam Ward, 24 of 38, 141 yards, no touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times. Tennessee ran the ball pretty effectively and stopped the run. They ran for 4.8 a carry, but only 14 carries. They lost a lot of balance in this game, where Jacksonville maintained perfect balance. It's 27 passes, 27 runs. Their running game wasn't there. Jacksonville only averaged 2.6 a carry. But Jacoby Myers scored a touchdown. Brenton Strange scored a touchdown. Bashal Tutin got in the end zone. And Jacksonville rolls to 8-4, and the Titans fall to 1-11. 1-11, and the 49ers are next. The Titans did have 3 sacks in the game and 5 hits on the quarterback, but they wound up losing the game. Devin Lloyd leading the way for Jacksonville with 8 tackles. He was their leading tackle man today, and Jacksonville looking good, 8-4, and rolling towards the playoffs potentially. All right, let's talk about the other games. Texans get a win, 30-16 over the Colts, and the Niners. Suddenly that game with the Colts is maybe not looking like an unwinnable game. Indy loses at home to the Texans and only scored 16 points in the process. Daniel Jones threw for 201 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor ran 21 times for 85 yards. Alec Pierce scored a touchdown for Indy. Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end, was ill, but he still scored a touchdown. But Indianapolis fumbled a couple times and they wind up losing the game. Azeez Al-Shaair led the way for Houston with 8 tackles, 4 solo. Azeez is just a tremendous player. He really is. And then receiving wise, Nico Collins is back in the lineup. He almost had 100 yards. Woody Marks and Nick Chubb, covered, what they combined for 98 yards and a touchdown. Pretty good on the ground. And then C.J. Stroud threw for 276, no touchdowns, the 1 interception. But the Texans go to 7-5, and the Colts fall to 8-4, and they suffer their first home loss of the season. Now, elsewhere, the Dolphins beat the Saints 21-17. I'll give the Saints credit. They're 2-10, but they've been in a lot of these games. Devon Achane, 22 carries for 134 yards and a touchdown. Veely also had a touchdown and 93 yards for the Saints. Tyler Shuck threw for 239 and 2 touchdowns in the loss. Saints fall to 2-10. Dolphins are trying to save Mike McDaniel's job, or at least Mike McDaniel is trying to save Mike McDaniel's job, and they go to 5-7, 4-3 at home. Jets get a win. How about that? Over the Falcons at MetLife, 27-24. Bijan Robinson in this game for the Falcons ran for 142 yards and a touchdown. But I'll tell you, the Jets found a nice little player in the trade that sent Sauce to the Colts. They got a Donnie Mitchell and a bunch of draft picks. Well, Donnie Mitchell is playing well for the Jets. He had 8 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. Brees Hall and Tyrod Taylor and John Mechie, those 3 guys combined 28 carries for 110 yards rushing. Tyrod Taylor gets the win for the Jets. Malachi Moore, the rookie safety from Alabama, had 10 tackles. Isaiah Oliver, by the way, the former Niner, had 9 in the game. And the Jets win. Only the 3rd time all year. They're 2-5 at home, 3-9 on the year. Man, the Falcons are a weird team. I don't know what to make of them. They're really talented. They're a young team, that rebuilt their defensive line, and they got Bijan, but they've lost Michael Penix. Kirk Cousins, 21 of 33, 234 yards, a touchdown, sacked a couple times. But Atlanta falls to 4-8 in another year for the Falcons, not going to the playoffs most likely. And the Jets get the win, and probably Jets fans are upset because it probably hurts their playoff position. Bucks at home over the Cardinals, 20-17. Jacoby Brissett threw for 300 yards and a loss. McBride, the tight end for Arizona, had 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield was 18 of 28 for 194. And even though Arizona ran for 5 yards a carry, they passed it 40 times, ran it 19 times. And it obviously wasn't good enough as Tampa wins on the road, or Tampa wins at home over Arizona, I should say. And what can you say? Tampa got an interception in this game from Antoine Winfield. If they had 2 sacks, they had 7 hits on the quarterback. So, I mean, if you hit the quarterback 7 times, that's pretty good. 3 from Vita Vea, 2 from Yaya Diaby. So Tampa's got just enough defensively. And then with Baker and Godwin, Egbuka, Rashad White, Bucky Irving back in the mix, they've got just enough weapons. I don't think Tampa's going to win it this year, but Tampa's a formidable foe any Sunday. That's for sure. They can beat you. So, and they beat the Cardinals. Cardinals fall to 3-9. Buccaneers go to 7-5. Story of the day in Week 13 was the Panthers upset the Rams. How about that? Matthew Stafford, 18 of 28, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he was sacked a couple times. He threw 2 picks, and Bryce Young threw 3 touchdowns. And the Panthers beat the Rams. I mean, Jalen Coker, Teneroa McMillan, Chuba Hubbard all scored receiving touchdowns. The Rams only had 2 sacks against Bryce Young all day. The Rams' leading receiver was Xavier Smith with 3 carries for 82 yards. Puka caught 6 balls for 72 yards, 2 touchdowns for Devontae. But it wasn't enough, and the Rams wind up losing. Mike Jackson had a pick. Nick Scott had a pick. Lathan Ransom had 11 tackles, the young safety. Trevin Wallace was back in there. He had 6 tackles. So Carolina, give Carolina credit, man. They were up 14-7 at the end of 1. The Rams led 21-17 at halftime, but the Panthers outscored them 14-7 in the second half to win it 31-28. So the Panthers still very much alive in the playoff race at 7-6. And the Rams, their hold on the number 1 seed, we'll see where it goes from here, but they fall to 9-3. Still in control of their destiny, but the margins are starting to be a little slimmer because Seattle also won, and their defense is really looking good. They shut out the Vikings in the Pacific Northwest to go to 9-3, 26-0. Sam Darnold threw for 128 yards, but was sacked 4 times. Seattle's offense is nothing spectacular. I mean, they ran for 3.9 a carry. Their offensive line's kind of iffy. Darnold's makes mistakes. Max Brosmer started this game for Minnesota, and he threw 4 picks. So, I mean, that will get you beat every time. Rookie quarterback in Seattle trying to deal with that, all that goes into that. So Seattle kept the game close by fumbling 3 times and losing 2 of those fumbles, including one from Darnold. But they got a 12-tackle performance out of Ernest Jones the 4th. They had 4 sacks and 7 hits on the quarterback. And Seattle got interceptions. Jones the 4th got one. Reek Woolen got one. Kobe Bryant got one. Actually, I should say Ernest Jones the fourth actually got two. So 4 interceptions. I mean, that will sink you every time. Brosmer, some people think has a bright future, but it just goes to show how difficult it is to play quarterback as a rookie in the NFL. He had a rough one today in Seattle, and Seattle goes to 9-3. So you got the Rams at 9-3, you got the Seahawks at 9-3. And I'm not sure who holds the tiebreaker there, but things are suddenly really bunched up. Bills beat the Steelers 26-7 at Heinz Field, or the formerly Heinz Field, behind Josh Allen. And Buffalo in this game, this game was 7-3 Pittsburgh at halftime. And then the Bills outscored them 23-0 in the second half. So Aaron Rodgers had his nose bloodied. I saw that. He threw for 117 yards. Steelers ran for only 3.2 a carry. Buffalo ran it effectively. Buffalo ran for almost 5 yards a carry. James Cook leading the way. 32 carries for 144 yards. He was also their leading receiver. He had 3 catches for 33 yards. I mean, that's the thing about Buffalo is I just don't know about their D, and I don't know about their weapons. I mean, their receivers in this game: James Cook, Dawson Knox, Ty Johnson, Brandon Cooks, Jackson Hawes, Keon Coleman, Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir. Nobody had over 33 yards receiving. So that's not great. Rodgers had a fumble in this game. James Cook fumbled a couple times in this game. Peyton Wilson, the linebacker for Pittsburgh, had 14 tackles, man. He's really something. But Pittsburgh's rush, no sacks of Josh Allen. They only hit him once all day. If you don't hit the quarterback, he'll come back and beat you. That's what happened here. They didn't hit the quarterback, and he came back and beat him. Josh Allen, pretty good numbers, 15-23 for 123 yards, a touchdown, an interception. He also had 8 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown, average 4.8 a carry. And Buffalo goes to 8-4. Pittsburgh, I always thought was going to finish slow, and they got off to a nice start. Now they're 6-6. Pittsburgh, what happened to Pittsburgh's home field? Remember when Pittsburgh was good at home? They're 4-3 at home. I mean, that's not great. And then the Chargers beat the Raiders in a division game. Raiders fall to 2-10. There's a lot of talk. The Raiders fired Chip Kelly. There's a lot of talk that Pete Carroll's going to be fired at the end of the year as well. Geno Smith threw another interception. He was sacked 5 times behind a bad line. They drafted a great running back in Ashton Genty, but if you have no O-line, he can't do anything. He carried 15 times for 31 yards, 2.1 a carry. Kamani Vidal, 25 carries for 126 yards and a touchdown. He went for 5 yards a pop. Justin Herbert, 15 of 20 for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did get hurt in this game. Bowers had a couple touchdowns for the Raiders. McConkey scored, and Quentin Johnson scored for the Chargers. So Chargers, as I said, 5 sacks, 9 hits on the quarterback. 9 hits on the quarterback, 2 from Khalil Mack. And, the Raiders are bad. The Raiders are a bad team. It's just really as simple as that. The Raiders fall to 2-10, 1-5 on the road. Chargers go to 8-4, 5-2 at home. And then the night game went to the Broncos against the Commanders. It's funny. The Broncos won the game, but they didn't look that great. Bo Nix was 29 of 45, 321 yards, touchdown. He had a pick. But Marcus Mariota, off the bench, played well. 28 of 50, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had the 1 pick. He also led them in rushing. He had 10 carries for 55 yards. So Washington had their chances. The thing went to overtime. Denver scored a touchdown in overtime, and Washington came down and scored a touchdown of their own, only to decide to go for 2, which makes sense. They were 3-8. But they didn't get the 2-point conversion, and they wound up losing by a single point. So Washington, I guess, gets the moral victory in that they fought like crazy against a pretty good Denver team that was rolling and only lose by a single point in overtime. So maybe Dan Quinn's happy about that. Zach Ertz had 10 catches for 106 yards. McLaurin had a key touchdown. He also had 7 catches for 96 yards. Debo had a big catch in the overtime to get him down to the 1-yard line. So 27-26. Denver goes to 10-2, 4-2 on the road. And Washington Not a good year for Washington. They fell to 3-9. Talanoa Hufanga, man. If there was one guy the Niners probably shouldn't have let go, it was probably him. Greenlaw had a pick in this game, by the way. So way to go, Dre. Greenlaw also had 5 tackles, 2 solo. But Talanoa Hufanga had 13 tackles, 10 solo, 2 TFLs. Man, that hurts. Not having Hufanga in the prime of his career is really a painful one for the Niner fans because they drafted him. He's their guy. And now he's leading the Broncos with 13 tackles. But good win for Denver. They go to 10-2, and Washington's showing that year 2 in the Jaden Daniels era is not nearly as good. Daniels didn't play, by the way. He's still out with the injury. And then Monday nighter will be the Giants and the Pats in Foxborough. The Pats looking to roll to 11-2 and maintain their number 1 seed in the AFC playoff picture. And the Giants will get Jackson Dart back in this game, I believe, and they're 2-10. They're also 0-7 on the road. So we'll see if they have any chance. Patriots a touchdown favorite in that one. Couple thoughts on the 49er game. 49ers took care of business on a really cold, ugly day, beating the Browns 26-8 to improve to 9-4 on the year. And Niners are just a half game back in the NFC West with 5 weeks left to go, I should say. And the Niners defense showed up. They had several key stops. Christian McCaffrey carried the way, and the 49ers get a nice win on the road. Now, what was the key in this game? I thought the Niners, I really felt like the team that ran the ball better would win, and yet the Browns ran the ball better, and the Niners won. Niners defense gave up 138 yards on 4.5 yards per carry. Quinshon Judkins had 23 for 91 yards, 4 yards a carry. And there's no question that, that was the Niners had a hard time stopping Quinshon Judkins. But the Niners played complimentary football. They did enough offensively possessing the football to kind of limit the Browns. The Browns made more mistakes. The Browns had a 10-play, 49-yard drive in the first quarter that took them into the red zone, but the Niners got a big 4th-and-1 stop with Malik Mustafa and Jordan Elliott, making the big plays on the 4th down. The next drive down, the Browns had really great field position. They were in prime position to score. It was 1st and 10 at the Niner 31-yard line. And then there was a penalty and a Clelin Ferrell sack. And suddenly it's 4th and 28 and they're punting. So I thought that was kind of key. Shanahan decided to push them back instead of ask for the 4th down, which would have resulted in a field goal attempt. Instead, he said, no, let's push them back. Then Clelin Ferrell got a sack on the next play. Next thing you know, they're 4th and 28 from midfield and punting. So that was a huge sequence. Later in the game, it was a 4th and 1, and the Niners forced a big fumble on Harold Fannin direct snap, which then converted into a score offensively. That was big. And then to end the game, the Niners got back-to-back turnovers on downs. So the Browns scored just 8 points, and the Niners defense really did a nice job. Now, the other key element of this game was the Niners took better care of the football. I mean, this was a game with wind and weather and cold, and you had to take care of the football. And Brock Purdy completed, 53% of his passes. He only had 5.8 yards per attempt on the day. He did not drive the ball down the field, but he only took 1 sack, and he minimized negative plays, and he took care of the ball, and he kept it out of harm's way. And the Niners didn't run the ball well. 33 carries for 91 yards, 2.8 a carry. That's not good. McCaffrey had 20 carries for 57 yards, but they didn't fumble. The Browns had 2 costly fumbles in the second half. Fannin fumbled on 4th and 1 at their own 33. The Niners scored with a touchdown. Brock Purdy ran in his first one of the year. And then there was a 3-and-out on the next drive. Niners punted it away up 17-8, but their return man, Larvadan, muffed it at the 18-yard line, and the 49ers scored a touchdown 6 plays later and went up 23-8. Niners got a field goal in the 4th quarter. Browns turned it over on downs, And, so the Niners wound up scoring 17 points off of turnovers, all in the second half. So that was huge right there. That's really what led to it. So now the Niners are, it's interesting. A couple weeks ago, the division seemed out of reach. The Niners were 6-4. You had the Rams and Seahawks both ahead of them at 7-2. Now with 5 weeks left, the Niners are a half game back of both teams with their 9-4 record, and they get the bye week still ahead. And the Niners have the tiebreaker over Seattle, and they got a 4-1 record in the conference, which is the best conference record in the league, or I should say 4-1 in the division, 8 and something in the conference. Let me double check that. They've got a really good situation going right now. If you look at the way the standings sit right now, the 49ers are in a really good spot as far as their record. Now, the Niners are 9-4. They're 4-1 in the division. They're 8-2 in the conference. Nobody's 8-2 in the conference. Eagles are close at 7-3. Bears are 6-2 in the conference. 49ers are 8-2 in the conference. So they're in a really good situation right now, you would think. So you got, you look at the Rams. The Rams are 9-3. They've got the tiebreaker over Seattle, but they've got Arizona 2 times and then Detroit, Seattle, and Atlanta on the schedule. Seattle's 9-3. They've got Atlanta, Indy, the Rams, Carolina, and the Niners. So we'll see. We're going to see how this all plays out. 49ers have Tennessee and then Indy, Chicago, and Seattle after the bye week. And it's suddenly wide open in the NFC West. And then the other thing is, I don't know that the 49ers have to be the top seed. I think they could go on the road and beat some of these teams. You see the way the 49ers play on the road. The 49ers are a very, very good road team. They're not nervous on the road. They carry it. Their fans pack the place wherever they go. They're a really good road team. I mean, here are the road records in the NFC of the best teams. Okay, here are the road records. Philly's 4-2. Dallas is 2-4. Okay, this is on the road. Bears are 5-2. They're good. Green Bay 4-1-1 on the road. Detroit's 3-3 on the road. Tampa's 4-3 on the road. Carolina's 3-4 on the road. The Rams are 4-2 on the road. The Seahawks are 5-1 on the road. They're a really good road team. The Niners are 6-2 on the road. They have more road wins than anybody else in the conference. 6-2 on the road. So, I mean, the 49ers are, first of all, Brock Purdy, if Brock Purdy plays, takes care of the football, it's really his secret. Whether he throws short or not, the guy makes a lot of good plays. He ran around effectively today. He took care of the football. Take care of the football, run around just enough. He's a terrific leader, and the guys believe in him. It's all about, can the 49ers, can they play complementary ball? Can they win as a team? Because they don't have Warner. They don't have Bosa. They're going to have to win as a team. So that means they're going to have to play good on special teams, and they are. And that means they're going to have to improve on defense, and they appear to be. And then can the offense shoulder the load, with their stars and Purdy and McCaffrey and Kittle. The one disappointing thing is Pearsall still remains kind of largely uninvolved. And he's a former first-round pick, and he's hugely disappointing from that standpoint. But if he could get it rolling, man, God knows what the 49ers could be. So there you go. Nice little week 13 around the NFL. We should tell people 49er football season is presented all season long by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and, of course, Sleeper picks. For daily fantasy, use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, that's a recap on week 13 around the NFL. 49ers with a nice win on the road at the Rams loss, and suddenly The momentum is building for the 49ers, and it's great to see. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.